We'll try this again. Welcome to our Thursday live stream.
I'm Rachel.
And Joe.
And we are two
crazy
ketos.
ketos.
Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for letting us know that there was no sound. Obviously, we just flipped into the parking lot.
Yeah.
So we've
been trying to set up the camera, and my little cam link didn't work.
Right.
So the problem is with these lights in the RV, it doesn't show up right. Like you get these streaks like here. Watch this. So if I go to my camera for our computer, see these streaks?
Yes.
I don't like those.
We look very angelic.
So I wanted to use our regular camera, and I couldn't get it to work because my little I forget what they're called, Elgato thing. It's not working. It won't pick up the camera signal, so we had to pull out everything we normally use for a live stream and stuff.
We are on our way to Meatstock in
Yep.
Tennessee. We are so excited. I understand that they're already having big fun in Tennessee, and so we had to kind of fasten down the farm before we left. But I did take time to get me a cowgirl hat.
So we stopped at Carol's in Georgia, Carol's Sausage,
Yes.
because I was going to stop at Cracker Barrel because solar I'm still not plugging in. I'm not plugging in. I'm not hooking up water. We're just running on solar right now. But the problem is when you stop at Cracker Barrel, you're not supposed to open up your slides, and we needed to open up the slides to do the live stream.
For the live stream.
Unless you wanted us to live stream from our bed. But I don't think you want us to live stream from our bed on our 17th anniversary.
17 years, Joe.
17 years.
Wow, I am thankful that I feel like, thanks to keto, our outlook for our future as a married couple, and what does our future together, what do our senior years look like? There is so much more hope than there was even when we got married. Honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
on our honeymoon, I pushed him in a wheelchair. I mean, that's where we were. That's where we began our journey.
I forgot how good this flavor is.
I think it's interesting that whatever you're drinking over there seems to be more exciting to you than me talking about us being married and back in our honeymoon.
We'll get more excited about that later.
What flavor?
It's chocolate malt. It's
been a minute since we've had chocolate milk.
It was in the box, remember? It was in last month's box, which we're going to be picking that winner tomorrow morning.
That is delicious.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Andrea, for the happy anniversary.
Thank you.
So, yeah, it's been an interesting day. We had to pack things up. I had to run to the store. Then we're literally getting ready to leave.
Right.
And, the chickens are all locked in their coops. They're not allowed out while we're gone. Sarah G is in charge of the farm while we're gone.
I love you, Sarah G.
And so, I don't want to have to wrangle. There's I don't even know how many turkeys we have at this point. 15. There's got to be 30 turkeys.
There's 100 birds
turkeys,
on the farm.
And then about 40 or so chickens. So I don't want to have to wrangle them, especially the turkeys. So everybody's locked up. And then all of a sudden, I'm as we're getting ready to leave, I'm I hear a chicken.
I hear little cheeks.
I just heard a chicken.
I just heard little baby
And then I'm
cheeks.
okay, somebody's not in the coop. And I look over, and then one of our chickens sat on eggs and miraculously hatched out eggs probably yesterday, because these are day-old chickens. So they're running loose on the farm, wild chickens now.
It was such a moving thing.
Because I'm not going to take them from her.
No, I'm not. We're not going to take them from her. We're just letting her. And of course, Tabitha immediately, once she saw Mama Chicken and all the babies, completely went to where they were, and knelt down, is laying down next to the babies and the mama, as hey, I'm your protector, which I thought was so beautiful. But what really blessed my heart was, I know this particular chicken has had a hard time fitting in on the farm, finding her place on the farm.
Right.
So this is an Indian giant chicken, a hen, and her mate, her designed mate, who we had picked for her to be her boyfriend,
got sold.
Well, and before that, had no interest in her. Had
no,
absolutely
he went after everybody else.
Everybody else but her. There's a pecking order to chickens. And in the pecking order, she's had a hard time.
The only thing, in his defense, though, she wasn't ready to lay eggs.
Right.
And it's amazing that the roosters know you're not ready yet.
Right. I do think that's interesting. But she just, I have found her and I hanging out a lot more because she's not finding a buddy with the hens. And so I know for a fact that the eggs that she hatched out
aren't hers.
Were not her eggs. But what she did was find that some of the ladies in the heat will go up underneath the house and just lay their eggs there because they do not, like, it's hot. I'm not going anywhere else and we're just laying the egg here. And they're leaving their eggs. They're not caring about their eggs. They're moving on with their life, right? And so here is this chicken that's like, I don't know where I belong or where I fit in, but it looks like there's a need for me here. So I'm just going to hatch out these chicks. They all look nothing like her.
Right.
And she's like, now she's mama.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, that'll preach.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we design for ourselves, like, this is where I want to fit in. This is where I want to make a difference. This is what I want to do. And then, like, sometimes we just give up when we do not get it our way.
Right.
But I learned a lot from a chicken today.
Yeah.
That it's like, you know what? Where I can be a blessing, that's where I want to go.
Kind of like our community.
I love it.
So, if you're new here, welcome to our Thursday live stream. Our Thursday live streams are all about our community. We like to just hang out with our community. That's what we do every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Even when we're on the road, we try to do this as much as possible. So if you have a question, we like to answer any kind of question you have. Generally keto or carnivore, but we'll answer anything within reason. Go ahead and type the word question and then whatever your question is. Or use the super chat function, which is the $ down below. So it's been an interesting trip. We got out a little bit later, about 45 minutes later, because of this chicken fiasco. Then I go to fuel up, and I go through the truck stops, and to go through a truck stop, you have to have a fleet card.
Right.
And it didn't work. So I'm like, okay, maybe this truck stop doesn't take my fleet card, which I thought was odd. So I sent Rachel in with my credit card and said, fill it up. Well, evidently this gas station is never heard of. Here's my credit card, fill it up.
Right.
And so they had to give her a dollar amount, and Rachel told them $25. I'm like, baby, I have a 60-gallon fuel tank.
But I don't know what you're doing.
So
I have no idea. And
so
you didn't give me amounts.
We'll go on, and I'll just stop at the next one, right? So we stop at the next one, cards decline. So I call the fleet company, and they're like, well, on your last trip to Texas, evidently you swiped your card at some place where there were some fraudulent, not on you, but they had fraud at that station. So your card has been canceled. And I'm like, I'm on my way to Indiana.
Yeah.
And now I have no fleet card, which means first I have to pay full price for gas because I'm using the Open Roads app.
This makes me cry.
On my Texas trip, I saved $280 in diesel fuel using my Open Roads app.
Right.
Like a couple of times I saved more than $1.50 per gallon. So that's number one. And number two, that means I can't use the truck stops. I'll have to go in and pay with a credit card, and then I got to pay full truck stop price, which is more than diesel at the front pump, and you don't want to drive the fifth wheel through the diesel pumps. So they're like, we will mail you a new card. We just need an address in Indiana. I don't live in Indiana.
I don't know.
They're like, we'll express mail you the card.
To where?
And I'm like, but I don't have an address to mail it
Target?
to. And I don't know anybody in Indiana
Well, I mean,
that I can have it mailed to
I know
that can
people,
collect the card for me
but I don't,
in the Elkhart area.
I was going to say it. I don't want to, like, put that on somebody.
I
Like,
mean,
talk about a chore.
I mean, and I won't be there till Monday.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, can you send it to a UPS store? They're like, well, we use FedEx.
Okay.
So.
What FedEx?
What a nightmare. Crystal said that is awful. Listen, here is a question. How much sparkling water is too much? I'm drinking about 2 or 3 a day, plus 56 ounces of water plus coffee. As much as you want.
Yeah.
Listen, sparkling water is literally just carbonated water.
Yeah.
That's all I drink. I rarely drink regular water because I don't like water. For me, water's got to be ice cold, which is actually not the best way to drink water. The best way to drink water is actually room temperature. I don't like water that much, but I love sparkling water, which is why I have a soda stream, which is why I modified the soda stream. And the problem in the RV is I have to rely on those little canisters, and I can't ever get them refilled. I'm down to my last one.
Then you gonna cry.
But yeah, drink as much sparkling water as you want.
Enjoy.
Let me put the chat
I
up
like
here.
to put like a slice or two of lemon in it too. If I'm really getting fancy, it is sparkling water, which I like to call angry water. Miriam taught me that. So I call it angry water, and I like a couple of slices of lemon in it. No
Paige
regrets.
said, I'm 1 hour from Gatlinburg, but couldn't rearrange my schedule to be there. Have fun in the Smoky Mountains.
Thank
That
you.
was the other interesting part is, again, we have our RV because we have to be in Elkhart by Sunday night,
Yes.
which it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And so we were bringing our RV. So the organizer said that, listen, I don't have it. You can park the RV on the side of the cabin where all the speakers are staying.
Yes.
Then we found out that I looked on Google Earth. This cabin is like at the top of a mountain with like a 15 to 20 minute windy road that I am not willing to, without driving it ahead of time, pull my RV that is 13 feet 6 inches tall
Up this
mountain and not know, can I turn around, where can I turn around, and oh, by the way, there's bears at the cabin that are not afraid of people.
It looks to me like one of those windy like country roads where they're saying like fallen rock on one side, like it's like a little bit of a road and then a lot of
I'm not bringing the RV there,
so we're like, we gotta park somewhere at the base.
I found it's like Smoky Bear RV park. It's like $75 a night. So I called them today and I'm like, do you have any room? They're like, yes. Because a lot of places in Gatlinburg at this time of the year, minimum of 3 nights and well over $100 a night. To park your own hotel, by the way. I'm bringing my hotel room.
Right.
And you're charging me over $100. I don't even want your electric. I don't need your electric. I got solar. But that's not how they work. And I'm like, my question is, any trees to worry about with a 13 foot 6 inch RV? And they're like, just follow a GPS designed for RVs and look on our website to match it up. And if you follow that way, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Follow any other way, like Google Maps or Apple Maps, you're gonna come across some like low bridges.
And we don't want that.
Okay, so yeah, so that is what we're doing. And then the problem is Sunday, we're evidently on stage at I think 9.
Yeah, in the morning.
And then it's 8.5 hours from Gatlinburg to Elkhart. And like that's gonna be tight to get in during daylight hours. So I gotta get a hold of Alliance. Can I come in at night, or should I just park the RV in the parking lot for Cracker Barrel overnight and pull in Monday, even though we paid for Sunday night?
You know what I love that we have learned in 17 years of marriage that's like different now than years ago, and that is we plan a little bit more ahead, and if I see the potential for a stressful situation, I will now speak up, and we are not just going to figure it out when we get there. It was like when we saw the aerial view of this very windy road, I didn't see like concern for the RV, honestly. I saw an argument. I saw a stressful situation.
I didn't see an argument. I saw Joe white knuckling, and I don't want to do that.
I saw cortisol getting spiked all up in this piece. And so I thought, you know what? With age should come not just knowledge, but wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge applied. I feel like when we were young, we collected a lot of information and did nothing productive with it. So now, I would like to believe that we can learn and that we can change and be like, you know what? We're not even going to try to figure out like whether or not we could survive a trip up a mountain. We're just going to park it at the bottom.
I can always just leave you at the bottom of the mountain.
Leave me at the bottom of the mountain. I will hitchhike. If you see me in Tennessee with my finger out, y'all give me a ride somewhere.
Okay, Shell, question. I started at 210 pounds. I've been carnivore for 3 years. I'm currently 160 pounds. And am I at optimal weight? I'm 40 years old, 5'2". I'm not gaining or losing. Should I try Lion? Okay, so are you at optimal weight? That's a question for you. Mm-hmm. I think that, okay,
I don't... pretty dang amazing so far.
Here's the thing. I hate the scale. I think the scale is the enemy. Yeah. I think the scale is the devil. I think the scale and society and the media and magazines tell us this is a number you're supposed to be.
With no context.
And I think that rather than going by a number on the scale, you should go by
how you feel.
Size.
Yeah.
Like size of your clothes. How do you feel? How do you feel that you look?
Are you able to move in a way that you want to move? And, and do the things that you want to do? That's important.
And the reason I say the number on a scale is meaningless is, okay, so I weigh about 189 pounds. I would love to look like The Rock. Can we all admit that the Rock looks better than me?
Yes.
Okay? The Rock is more physically fit. Thank you very much. On our anniversary, you sleep on the bunk beds.
You brought it up.
Okay. Well, I'm not asking you. I'm asking. You're supposed to say no. The Rock does not look better than you.
That guy looks terrible.
That's right. You should say the Rock is fat and overweight. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we can all admit the Rock looks better than me. He's better physically fit. He's the same age as me, right?
Okay. Basically, you're twins.
So, I would love to look like The Rock.
I would like to sleep inside tonight.
The Rock, to look like The Rock, I would have to be willing to weigh 270 pounds.
And I would be comfortable with you making that decision.
But
way to go, Mr. Miyagi.
But I would not be willing to see that number on the scale, even if it meant looking like The Rock.
Even if it's strong.
Right.
I find...
And that is not a good thing. That is a bad thing on my part. I literally would rather see a number on a scale of 189 than be better physically fit. And so that's why I say don't rely on that number. If you feel like you're in the size you want and you like the way you look, then stay at 160 pounds. Now, you're asking like, well, should I do Lion Diet? Listen, all the Lion Diet is eating ruminant meat and salt. It's not a miracle. I mean, there's other things that you have to look at. You're saying you're eating carnivore. There's no difference between carnivore and Lion. Yeah. Okay, and it depends on what kind of carnivore you're doing, but I would look more at the other aspects. I would be looking at where's your stress level, what kind of movement are you doing?
Getting good sleep?
Are you getting good sleep? And then I would look at like, okay, if you want to get more cut, first, how much are you eating? That's if you were my coaching client, the first thing I'm going to say, how much are you eating? I don't know. Okay, for 1 week, I want you to track. If you're eating at your current weight, and you say you're not gaining and you're not losing, if you're eating anything other 17 to 1800 calories, I'm going to tell you it's time to start having you eat more. And you're going to say to me,
but I'm not losing.
I want to lose weight. And I'm like, if you want to lose weight, you need to eat more. And we are going to slowly take you from that 17 to 1800 or whatever number you're at, and we're going to take you all the way up to about 23 to 2400 calories. This is going to take about 12 weeks in total to get you up there and then have you stay there for a few weeks. Then we're going to cut off just 100 to 150 calories. And all of a sudden you're going to see a scale lose. And you're going to be like, wait, how am I losing weight when I'm eating more than before? And It's because we're ramping up your metabolism.
Yeah.
Okay? And so those are there's a lot of questions in it, but I don't think going to a Lion Diet, I don't think going to like an extreme calorie deficit, any of that is the answer. That's kind of what yesterday's video talked about. Okay, that the fact that we look for these things before looking at some of the other more logical choices. Now, if you were doing keto and involving a lot of heavy cream and a lot of keto snacks, that's where I would say, okay, let's do beef, butter, bacon, egg, or carnivore for like 60 days because we'd be cutting down. But to cut from carnivore to Lion, the only reason to do Lion Diet is if you're having like histamine issues or like you've been bitten by a deer tick or something like that where you can't have any other kind of meat. But as far as weight loss, a Lion Diet's not going to help you any more than carnivore.
I have talked
Hopefully that helped.
It's been a struggle for me with the scale as well, like over the years, you know, and I've talked to so many other people that have said that it's been a barrier for them even being willing to get into strength training. Like they know that they want to even put on muscle and get stronger, but if they put on muscle, it means the scale's gonna go up. So they would rather stay. And I've been there too. That was a challenge for me. I mean, I felt like I could go pursue strength training after I tossed the scale out of my life because I've been like, hey, if I get down to this weight, there ain't no going up. If I strength train, I'm going to have to go up and I'm going to have to surrender this number that is like a lower number because just for the exact reason that Joe is talking about with The Rock, muscle weighs something.
Okay. I see Amy said she's going to Florida, we're going to Indiana. I know, I thought about that for a split second when they're like, do you know anybody in Indiana? I'm like, Amy is like, you know, in Indiana and only 10 minutes away from where we're going to be, maybe we could have the cars. And I'm like, oh, I remember that you were doing it in Florida. So, okay, I saw a question. Robin wants to know, can you give me suggestions on how to make keto chow thicker? I know it's a personal choice, however, it looks like the one you're drinking is a bit thick.
Sure.
So I make it with butter. Okay, so here's the two main fat sources for keto chow are going to be butter or heavy cream. You can use other fat sources, but those are the two main that I use. Heavy cream is going to make it thicker, a lot thicker. Butter is going to make the flavors come through more. So heavy cream mutes the flavor, butter enhances the flavor. So if you want to use butter to get the enhanced flavor, a few things you can do is put just a touch of xanthan gum or tarragon. Some people like to put just a little bit of gelatin. Just a little bit. Like if you put a tablespoon of gelatin in there, you're going to have Jell-O.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, you know, maybe a quarter of a teaspoon or so of gelatin. That can help. The other thing is the longer you let it sit. I generally don't drink keto chow unless it's been sitting at least 2 days. The more it sits, the thicker it gets. You make it with heavy cream, and it's like pudding within 5 days.
Right.
I mean, it gets thick. It just depends on what you want to do. But the best thing to do is adding a little bit of gums. You can add a little bit more gum acacia if you want. But I generally would recommend xanthan gum or tarragon or using gelatin. Janice.
Hey, Janice.
Do you both beef liver? Dr. Berry recommended beef liver supplement. I don't really do beef liver. I don't like the taste of it. Rachel's mother loves the taste of it.
She was just making it yesterday.
What we do is when we buy a cow or a half a cow, we'll take the beef liver and we'll mix it in. I just don't like the taste of it. Growing up, like, I didn't like the taste of it, but I was forced to eat it, which is probably part of my problem. But at least when I was growing up and we ate it, we covered it in breadcrumbs.
Yeah, now it's
like
Mommy loves
that kind of takes care of it. Do I think that you should eat beef liver? Yes, I do. Do I think we should be eating beef liver? Yes, I do. I do eat some other stuff. I love like chicken liver, like pâtés, kind of things like that. I grew up like in a very Jewish area, so we had like these bagel places near us.
Freaking amazing.
So we go every Sunday, and my dad would get me big tubs of chopped chicken liver. I loved that kind of stuff. So at least I get some liver, and then Ancestral Supplements, which I know Dr. Berry works with them. They make a really good liver capsule, and that's what we'll do is we'll use liver capsules. I'll take livers that we've collected when we have our freeze dryer. We will dry them up and either like do little bites out of the freezer or we'll turn them into capsules.
Yeah, that's something that our daughter does is just like take like, you know, little tiny, chop it up really, really fine, like little bits, almost like capsule sized. And she just puts it into the freezer and then they just take it and just eat it raw because that way it's frozen and you're like not dealing with it. Right. It's not cooked.
Matt said Rachel didn't even hesitate to admit that the Rock. I know, right, Matt?
Called out.
Like, I know. Like, I'm sending her with you guys. Like,
I know, but I could name some beautiful celebrities that
nobody
I think
looks as good as you.
That's because you have like you've got
because
hindsight
I have
now.
No, it's.
You know,
I know what I've got.
No, I feel like I can trip him up, guys. I can trip him up.
Paige.
Hey, Paige.
When y'all were starting keto for weight loss, what did you do when you got stuck or when your weight plateaued? We changed things up.
Yeah.
So.
First we cried, then I moaned, complained, and wrote a really long list in my mind about how unfair it was. Then we changed.
So the one thing I will say is I lost weight rather quickly on keto.
Because guys.
Because of my diet. Okay? You have to look at where I was before. We have talked about this before. We have added up our Sundays, every other Sunday when we had no kids, we were each eating over 10,000 calories.
So a big change.
I lived on fast food, gas station foods and stuff like that. So I had a drastic change because even though I had problems with my ankles, I had an active lifestyle and being a lacrosse official. So during lacrosse and football season, I always lost weight. During the winter, I would gain weight.
And I was I was very, very low calorie. So my metabolism had to heal before I even experienced weight loss.
But for me, I, even from the beginning, never really focused on calories. I just never focused on calories. I did focus on grams of protein and fat, but I think that helped me that I never really focused on calories because I was never good at counting calories. Like coming into it, like, you know, even when I did Nutrisystem, you tell me to eat this is what I ate. I didn't know how many calories.
Just
And
eat the
even when I
package.
did like try Weight Watchers or something where you had to count calories, I cheated. So I never really ate the calories that I was supposed to. So I just came into it and said, like, I'm going to eat. Now, would I hit a level and then like stay there for a little while? Yeah, but I generally just said, well, I'm good because here was the difference, and maybe it's a guy thing, okay? But I came into this weighing, I don't know what my original starting weight was, okay? I know I was well over 300 pounds, and the reason I say that is because the last time I had gotten on the scale was I can tell you exactly when it was. It was like the end of October of 2016. That's when I got on a scale. When I got on that scale, I weighed 290 pounds. When I got on that scale, I was wearing like a size 38 pants and an extra large shirt. By the time I started keto in February, I was in a size 44 pants and a double extra pushing a triple extra large shirt. But see, what happened was when I saw that 290 pounds,
That was it.
I never wanted to see 300. And like, listen, ignorance is bliss. So if I don't see 300 on a scale, it means I don't weigh 300.
It's interesting how we handle things like that, Joe, because we're talking about how like the scale can be really undermining in your weight loss, and yet there was a time
it was undermining in my weight gain too.
We're either like obsessing over it or we don't want to talk to it at all.
Right.
That's crazy.
So when I started weighing and I got on keto and my clothes, I noticed the clothes before anything. My thing was, if I could just get to 230 pounds. 230 pounds was the lowest that I had remembered weighing since I was like 18 years old. And so I was like, if I could just get to 230 pounds, I will be ecstatic. Then I got to 230 pounds. I'm like, I'm good. But I didn't hit 230. I got like 229. I'm like, I wonder if I can get to 220. And then somehow I stayed at that between 220 and 230 for like a long time. And then I woke up one morning and I was like 218. And I'm like, I wonder. And so I never really focused on it. I'm like, I'm happy where I'm at, but if I lose more weight, that's good. And the next thing I knew, I was at 185 pounds, which is the lowest that I ever was.
For me,
and I think I was too thin at 185 pounds.
For me, across my keto journey, I've had several stalls, loads of stalls. And so for me, changing things up really helped. One thing that really helped me was like keeping my eating window during daylight hours. That was a huge thing. Keeping it within the daylight, that really helped. It really helped for me to, instead of when we started keto, I didn't eat until 2 p.m. I don't even know where we first pulled out that it was like, you're not supposed to eat until 2. When I started eating breakfast, that really helped. It helped me to do a reverse diet. That helped when I got on, had a certain
Well, the first
plateau.
time we started talking to Robert, this was, I want to say, 2019. And I talked to Robert about coaching us a little bit. And Robert, he was doing deeper state keto. And maybe it was 2020 or 2020. I think it was 2019. Yeah, 2019. And Robert said, how much are you eating? And we're like, we have no idea. And so we had us track. And Rachel was eating like 1,400 calories. And he was like, there's no way. Like, and I think I was eating like 1,800. And he's like, Joe, you should be like over 2,500 calories. And Rachel needs to be somewhere around 2,200.
It blew my mind, really.
And so that's where we really learned about reverse dieting. And the next thing you know, every week we were eating more than the week before, but we were losing weight where we hadn't lost weight in forever.
Triple B&E was another game changer moment for us. I did not lose a single pound the first time we did triple B&E, but I lost a ton of inches. It was like body recomposition. And I think that was the first time where I thought to myself, this scale is lying to me. Because again, I was able to wear completely different outfits. My clothes fit totally differently. However, there was no change on the scale. So
Yeah.
it was definitely lying to me. And then I had a 2-year stall at one point, and that got fixed when I decided to deal with my stress.
Yeah.
Because I had some stressful things. I had some things I needed to let go of. I needed to change my schedule. And so I thought we were going to handle every problem in the kitchen, and it had to do with me handling my stress.
So here's the thing: if you go and watch our old videos, we have been up and down in weight, generally
Sure.
within 10, 15 pounds. Almost always it was stress.
Or sleep.
We also do I mean, I'm a horrible sleeper. We also do stupid things to our bodies. In all of the time, we have never counted our calories. Even when we were working with Robert, we were supposed to do his deeper state keto.
It was small times for tracking.
But we didn't actually do it because he had us gain weight. He had us do a reverse diet, and we started losing weight on a reverse diet. This is horrible. We never followed through with the cut back. We were supposed to reverse diet up and then cut back. But by the time we got up to the weight that the amount of food he wanted us to eat, we were at the weight we wanted to be. So we've never counted calories. We've never cut the amount of food. We've changed the food, but we have from day one pretty much, or after the first year, we really have gone to just eating intuitively.
Right.
The last time we really tracked and counted calories was 2019 when we did Countdown to KetoCon with Autumn.
Yes. Oh
that
my
was
gosh.
the last time where every week we were cutting a little bit of calories. But that's a long time ago. Everything has always been switching it up. That's what we've always done, and that's the way I coach. Is unless there's a specific thing, we really aren't looking at calories. We're looking at grams of fat and protein. Sometimes we have to cut the fat because we're eating too much. But it's always been about what else is going on first. And most of the time, we're not eating enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Asa said keto is dead, sugar diet kill it. I disagree. I think this sugar diet thing that you see people talking about is a fad. I know there are people who are doing it, but you're going to have some really convincing evidence for me, like some of the claims that the person who really is a big proponent of it, not a keto person or anything like that, but saying that eating the sugar diet will reverse insulin resistance. I would like to see scientific evidence and documentation how eating 600 grams a day of carbohydrates, which is mostly coming from pure cane sugar and Sour Patch Kids,
what nutrition
is going
there?
to help you reverse your diabetes. I know the claim is it will ramp up your metabolism.
Weight loss is not the only thing you
people can say what they want. I firmly believe that sugar is a poison to the brain.
Yeah.
Okay, and the reason I believe that is because I've seen evidence of it, not only scientific evidence of it, but I've seen evidence of it in people in my own lives of what happens when they consume too much sugar and what happens to them when they cut out their sugar, specifically mentally.
Yeah.
And so you would have to do a lot of convincing to get me to do a sugar diet. And here's the thing. Yes, we did a video yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, on the hyperketosis. I promise you this, I will never do a video explaining the sugar diet, because when people see, if you don't know what the sugar diet is, I would encourage you to not go look up, especially if you have a sweet tooth or if you're tempted, because I will never even put in somebody's mind that this might be a good idea.
I think too, think about raising a family. Is this something that we have a grandchild and one on the way? I am not going to get started with something that I would not want to feed them. I think it's reasonable to at least have enough love for myself as I do for my grandchild, right? I think it's very important that we're careful. And sometimes the chasing for, as a content creator, of what's going to be the next thing that's going to get me viral hits, I think we need to really be thinking about what's going to be the aftermath of that.
Yeah.
I
think it's a fad that won't stick around.
But I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be left to recover in the wake of it.
And here's the thing. Keto has been a diet since the early 1900s. Okay? Keto is not a fad thing. You had keto, which was really developed for children with epilepsy, and then people were doing a low carb for a long time. Then you had the coming back of it with Atkins. The biggest problem with Atkins really was the reintroduction of carb phase. And then, of course, I think Dr. Atkins did ruin it a little bit by bringing in Atkins products, because all of a sudden you realize, listen, somebody buys my book, and then they were just passing the book around.
Right.
Like, how much money can you make? We got to find a way to make it where we can continue to make money. But this is not a, people think that, keto's only been around for a few years. Keto has been around for more than 100 years.
Yeah.
Like, this is not a new thing. It's just more people are doing it, and I think more people are doing it because of the health benefits. It's not just a weight loss thing. Liz, when I'm in between going to keto, my sleep is messed up. I have to increase my sleep and increase my calories and increase my electrolytes to get back to a solid 8 hours. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Amy said I'll be here till Friday, but isn't tomorrow Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. But thank you for the offer, Amy.
Thank you, Amy.
Double D said, came in late, not sure if I missed. How many days are you going to be at Meatsuck 2025? Or are you only going to be there Sunday? No, we're going to be there Saturday and Sunday.
So excited.
Sometime tomorrow. We're going to pull in sometime tomorrow. From here, I think we have about 7.5 hours. But that's 7.5 hours not counting Atlanta traffic. So probably like 15 hours.
Right. Liz loves liverwurst too. The boys love liverwurst.
I like liverwurst. I do like liverwurst.
Well, not Caleb, but Anthony and John Paul love it.
Vadim, I see more and more keto followers who plateau go on this sugar diet that even Mark Bell has been recommending. What's your take on it? Having a load of fruits to speed up in time? Because, listen, I've watched... So Mark Smelly Bell, if that's who you're talking about, I watched one of his videos on it yesterday, okay? He's not just saying eat fruit. He literally said eat pure cane sugar. If you go watch the video where he's talking about it and he's walking around his home gym, okay? I disagree. And he even said there's no information about that. I think sugar is a poison. I do. I think sugar is a poison, especially modern day sugar. It's one thing to go out to a sugarcane field and grab a sugarcane stalk and chew on that. But when you're buying cane sugar, which has been treated, I think it's a poison. I think if you want to eat fruit, you should be eating locally grown in season, which means if you live up in New York, especially northern New York, if you live in North Dakota, you should never in your life eat an orange. Because
it's not locally grown.
It's not locally grown. And I will even tell you, locally grown is within 300 miles. Okay, so if it is not grown within 300 miles of your house, in my opinion, you really should not be eating it. You want to eat it as a treat once in a while, fine, but locally grown in season. Mangoes are in season in the state of Florida for 1 month a year, which means there's only 1 month that we should be eating mangoes. If I ate a couple of mangoes in that 1 month, I think I'd be fine.
Yeah.
But eating a mango every single day for an entire year is going to mess me up.
This is not ancestral.
But he literally, when I watched that video, he's like, I went to the movie theater, I ate a giant bag of Sour Patch gummies. That's not healthy. That's just, you're never going to convince me that it is healthy to eat 600 grams of carbohydrates that come from sugar. You're just never, and if people get mad at me for saying that, you're just never going to convince me that that's a smart idea. I know I'm really upsetting a lot of people right now. Watch, the subscriber count's going to go way down.
That's all right.
And I'm not trying to upset people.
But I mean, I have worked so hard. My mental health journey is so precious to me. There'd be no way to gamble that. There would just absolutely be no way to gamble
I will say this. Will it break a plateau? Probably.
But nutrition-wise...
But why is it going to break a plateau? Because most people who are on a plateau or keto are on a plateau on keto because they're eating too little. And because they have slowed down their metabolism. And eating that sugar will temporarily speed up your metabolism. But you are going to affect your health in such a negative way that is not worth it. There are better ways to break the plateau than eat a whole bunch of sugar and undo all of the health benefits that you just got from eating a keto or carnivore lifestyle.
Well, and for somebody who has worked so hard to break carb addiction, to break sugar addiction, to send them down that aisle, it breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I can remember being on the bathroom floor with the door locked so that my family is not watching me eat like a bag of Reese's peanut butter cups. That never led to mental like health, and it didn't lead to nutrition, and there was so much hurt and pain associated with that. Like to say, hey, we're gonna try this because maybe it'll like jumpstart, your life. But you're asking me as a sugar addict to like go down that aisle and put myself in that position.
Here's the thing. I always like to say, look ancestrally. Okay, now I'm very well known for saying no society has ever been 100% carnivore. Close, but not 100%. There's no human civilization that has ever been 100% carnivore. None. Okay. With that being said, carnivore at least is sort of an ancestral diet. When you look at like the Inuits and stuff like that, they're 99% meat. So I can get on board with that. Okay? Please show me a human civilization that ate 600 grams of sugar and carbohydrates from sugar in a day. And especially when that sugar is coming from
ultra-processed
like
nonsense.
Ultra-processed gummy bears and stuff like that. Okay, show me a civilization that has survived and thrived eating sugar, just pure sugar. Because the only civilization that I see that has eaten pure sugar is the civilization since like the late 70s. And where has that gotten us, right? We cut out the fat, which is, here's the sugar diet, cut out the fat, eat sugar instead. Well, isn't that what we started doing in the late 70s, early 80s when we went low fat?
Yeah.
Right? We went low fat.
Sugar has been added to our diet already.
Sugar gets added because fat is flavor. When you cut out the fat, you have to increase the sugar. Go look at any low fat cookie in the store. You'll see it has double the sugar of that same cookie in a regular. And what happened when we went low fat in this country? Diabetes skyrocketed. So I'll leave it there. Okay, there's a lot of comments, so I'm gonna jump ahead, and Andrew, if I see other ones.
I just want to say hello to Andrew and thank you so much. Like, I checked on like yesterday's video and I saw someone saying like we're so cringy, like, don't listen to these people, like they look completely fake. And Andrew like comes in there and is like, how much did you get paid for this? Like, and thank you for everybody who kind of like just defended us as like, no, these are sincere people. Because again, if someone is a new person coming to watch us and sees this video and is watching, we're trying to provide information. But if you've got people like spamming the comments saying like, these are terrible people, insincere, cringy people, don't watch their stuff. Like, it's hurtful because obviously we're real people on the other side of that. And like, just to see Andrew come in and be like, I know them. That's not true.
A lot of good questions. I'm gonna try to answer them quickly and succinctly, which we're not good at. Paige, I can't imagine how much worse a sugar diet would make lipedema. I would definitely agree. Bob, can a pemmican bar raise blood sugar, or homemade ones crunchy? Pemmican bar could raise blood sugar depending on what it's made with.
Berries, honey.
Traditional pemmican it's literally just like lean meat and fat. Now, it's very fatty, so it should not have a protein issue with raising your blood sugar because it's going to have so much fat because that's how it's preserved. But they, like American Indians did add like berries. Some people add honey. That could raise your blood sugar, but it depends on how much they're adding. I have absolutely eaten some of the carnivore bars that have honey in them, but that brings them to a total of like 8 carbs, and I'm good with it, and it doesn't really affect me. But again, I've been keto since 2017. Amy said, so I shouldn't.
He said, is the crunchy, or the crunchy?
Oh, are they crunchy?
You can make them.
They
crunchier.
should not be crunchy. They generally are soft because they should be very fatty because the fat preserves it. It really is going to come down to how much do you powder up that meat. Amy said, so I shouldn't eat an orange in northern Indiana. Do you want me to be honest?
Probably not.
Listen, I don't. Again, locally grown. I mean, now, do I think you should never eat an orange? No. But I think that...
See where we're going.
Because I saw your other question, and you're not going to like the answer for this. Can I still eat avocados from Mexico? My opinion, no. And it's not even... First of all, here's the thing. Do we know the farming practices in Mexico? Second of all, there are multiple states here in the United States that grow avocados. Why are we buying avocados from another country? And by the way, they're in season several times a year at in the United States that do grow them. It's not like we only have like a 3-week avocado season. So
we may be partial
between
because
all of
Florida.
the states in the United States that can grow avocados, you should always be able to get American avocados.
Yeah.
You know, but again, that's just me. Liz said the ridiculous nonsense I get from telling people I don't eat vegetables or fruit is scary. I've said to people, why does my lifestyle bother you so much? It's not about you.
That's so true. Like, you know, and parents that I've talked to, Liz, that are saying, like, I don't understand why people are critiquing my parenting, saying that I am giving my children a lackluster childhood because I am not, like, giving them apple juice multiple times daily. I am not buying them candy all the time. I mean, these are some very reasonable parents that I've talked to over the years that are like, hey, if my kids go to a birthday party and they partake in like a slice of cake that's, you know, has been prepared for the birthday kid, I have no critique on that. Like, we'll deal with that. You know, they'll be fine. They'll recover from that. So it's not somebody that's like, you know, I don't know, trying to patrol other parents, you know? So I just don't understand, like, why you care that I am feeding myself whole food or, like, this is my lunch, you know? I mean, I just don't understand why you care.
I just realized that we will be passing Buc-ee's at, like, 8 in the morning, which means no Texas brisket.
Sorry.
Burrito. Afternoon one, I guess. Vadim,
Vadim.
Joe, I agree with you, but would you say adding some carbs might be helpful here and there to achieve optimal metabolic flexibility? I think it's a slippery slope. I think it depends on where you are metabolically. I think it depends on where you are health-wise. I think if you're going to sometimes here and there add in a little bit of carbs, I think
what
you
carbs
should do
are
it
you
with
wanting?
some health. And what are the carbs?
Yeah.
Are you telling me? Do you want to know? Do you want permission that it's okay to eat like a piece of cake or a candy bar once in a while? No, I'm not going to say that. Do I think it's going to hurt you if you've been doing keto for a while like us and you have gotten to where you want to be metabolically and you have healed your insulin resistance and it's going to kill you to have a half a sweet potato once a week? No, I don't. But will it stop there? Like, I can tell you this. Every time I go to Buc-ee's, we will be stopping at 2 Buc-ee's tomorrow because we love Buc-ee's because we're Buc-ee's groupies. I know some people hate Buc-ee's, right? Every time I walk into Buc-ee's, during the day, not in the morning, but during the day, I see those Buc-ee's beaver chips, those fresh, thin sliced potato chips, and I'm like, you know, it probably wouldn't hurt me to eat those. Like if I only ever got them when I pass a Buc-ee's, which is once every few months, is it going to really affect my lifestyle? No, I'm going to burn through those carbs really quickly. But is it going to stop at eating those? And for me, no. They're probably going to lead me to buying potato chips and a lot of other stuff.
I don't think that you eat carbohydrates to increase your metabolic flexibility. I think that you eat, like, very straightforward, whole food, mostly meat, lead with meat. And as your body heals, you're developing metabolic flexibility so that when you come in contact with a carb, you recover quickly.
Yeah. Your body will never forget how to process carbohydrates. It will forget, or it's a lot easier to go to eat carbohydrates and than it is to go back to fat. So It's like if you ate a carbohydrate tomorrow, your body knows exactly what to do with it. Will your glucose go up slightly faster and higher than if you were eating them on a regular basis? Yes. But it's also going to come down faster because your body knows how to handle it.
It's not like, you know how some people you've probably seen in movies where they're like, hey, I take a little bit of arsenic every single day so that I'm like building up my tolerance for arsenic.
Right.
That's not what you're trying to do, is like feeding it a little bit of, you know, make sure I have a little bit of candy. There are situations where, let's say, like, you know, vegetables that are like cruciferous vegetables that can cause bloat and gas when you're not interacting with them regularly. Things like, you know, cabbage, especially cooked cabbage, onions. I have noticed for people, if you go for really long stints of time when you have not eaten Brussels sprouts or those kind of things, when it is, you know, St. Patrick's Day and you decide to eat some corned beef and cabbage, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so gassy and farty. is it because like, cabbage is evil and bad? No, it's just that you haven't interacted with it. And so you're going to have like some distension because your body is dealing with it. But it doesn't mean that you have to make sure that like you're eating sugar and having a bunch of carbohydrates so that you can deal with carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Bob said non-skill victory. I was out today splitting wood at 74 years young.
You rock. And that's what it's all about. There's what it is all about. Is it about, being a certain size? Like, why are we eating this way? It is so that we can properly fuel and be confident in our fuel. Because again, when you're leading with carbohydrates, it is a roller coaster. You are trying to manage the crash. You are riding the wave. And are you getting better and better at being like a surfer that's riding the up and down carb crash, right? Yeah. We can be confident when we're keto and you're fat fueled that you have sustained energy. Now, what do you do with that? You go out and it's supposed to fuel the activities that are important to you that you want to continue to maintain. And for Bob, I'm glad to hear that it's about still being able to do the things and chores to have your life, right? Yeah. Without having to hire somebody else to do those things.
So Vadim wants to know what's her opinion on PSMF. So PSMF, I think, is a great tool. It's really designed for people who are morbidly obese. The idea behind it is instead of fasting, eating a high protein day because that will spare your muscle. The problem that I had with PSMF is, so this is what kind of brought on beef butter bacon like years ago. And, quickly said the story. We were sitting with Dr. Barry. I think we were in Omaha at the time. We were talking with Dr. Barry, and I said I was really concerned because PSMF became this big craze. And
if one day works, 7 days would be
better.
People
were starting to demonize fat. Kind of like what you're seeing right now. Everyone's demonizing fat. Hyperketosis, eat less than 25 grams of fat a day. Sugar diet, eat less than 25 grams of sugar a day. We're demonizing fat, okay? So the whole thing is people were doing PSMF, but PSMF is supposed to be you're eating it like 2 times, maybe 3 times a week.
Not every single day.
But it's a high protein, low fat, very low carbohydrate. But again, you're only doing that for a couple of days a week, and then the other days you're doing regular keto with that normal. But people are like, well, if one day is good, every day is better.
Right.
And all of a sudden you had people doing hyperketosis, basically. That's literally, except for without the fruit, where they're literally eating except for they here with the PSMF, they're eating like a lot of protein, like 150, 200 grams of protein, but no fat, like less than 30 grams of fat a day. And it causes problems. It can raise your glucose. So I think that if you use it as a tool the right way,
it can be very helpful.
It could be very helpful to break a stall if you're morbidly obese, things like that. Again, it's like it really is exactly, it's a protein sparing
way more
modified
protein.
Fat. But don't abuse it, because abusing it will cause other problems.
Doesn't it seem right and reasonable that our extremes are inappropriate? Extremes like have like an immediate, like something happens. Like anytime you do something extreme, like something happens, you have a result that is like super noticeable. But like extremes are not something where you can live.
Yeah.
Like you can't live in extremes.
Juliana is finding herself every time she eats a cherry from her cherry tray.
I'm up to 4 cherries. Way to go. $20 per cherry. Let's go.
That's good. So Juliana said PSMF will work. Should never be more than 2 to 3 days a week and not long term. Yep. She's got it. Paige says the sugar addict fork in the road by Unwin was life changing, and also I think y'all are awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lackluster childhood.
Yeah, dealing with being sick. Thanks, Angela.
Jen said, I live in southern Arizona, so some of our local stuff comes from Mexico, even at farmers market.
Sure.
See, but again, that's going to be locally grown for you. The border doesn't mean anything to me. Okay?
Right.
I mean, the border means something to me that if your neighbor is growing it, I would get it from your neighbor over going to Mexico.
Right.
But you're in southern Arizona.
That is local.
That is locally grown for you, okay?
Yeah.
Let's take out the country line. My problem with the country line comes down to, for example, in Florida, where Florida grows a lot of blueberries, but the second they start getting imported from other countries, the other countries sell them cheaper.
That's right.
And so it happened again this year where it is literally cheaper for the local farmers in Florida to let the blueberries rot on the tree than to pick them, because when they hire the pickers to go and pick the blueberries,
they can't compete.
It's costing them more money than what the store is selling the blueberries that come from other countries. That's where my problem is. But for you, if you're in southern Arizona,
that's local.
That's locally grown.
Yeah.
The point is more of like, if you're in Seattle, Washington, you wouldn't be getting a mango. They don't grow mangoes up there.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying, again, never eat a mango, but it should be like an ultra treat. Kind of like when you go to South Korea.
I mean, when we before keto, we were going to Jamba Juice. Like, we would get a smoothie, and that was like purported health. And there was a bushel of fruits, tons of apples, tons of things that are not locally grown by us that we were eating.
Vadim said, my blood glucose went to 300 after eating pizza in a cruise a week ago. First time eating pizza in 5 years after being low carb. My A1C is 5.4, and I repeated again in the same high sky blue. And that's normal.
Wow.
But because you've been keto for 5 years,
it'll recover quicker.
It recovered down. Now, that is the whole idea of insulin resistance, right? So generally, if you have a healthy metabolism and you're metabolically healthy, your blood glucose, when you eat that sugar, should skyrocket, and then within 2 hours, be completely back to normal. Somebody who is insulin resistant, that doesn't happen. It goes up, and then it takes a long time to come down. Sometimes it never comes back down to the normal level until they go to sleep.
Go to sleep, yeah. Liz is losing Buc-ee's for life.
Let's see. Chris is answering that. Bubbles, darn, I was going to supplement licorice for carbohydrates.
Dang it. So close. And here's the thing. You are so blessed with freedom of choice of what you want to do. And I have 3 children, and I'm not interested in being anybody's mom. And I am not searching for any type of being deputized to police anybody's journey. So anything that we share is just our honest opinion on it. But if anybody wants to do anything, we're we celebrate you being able to be in charge of your life. And no matter what you do, we love you. Yeah. You're my friend. I mean, anybody that hangs out with it, I don't care what you're eating. And bring a friend. And I don't care what they're eating, right? I think that it's more important that we care about people than we care about them eating exactly the way we're eating.
We're going to tell you how we feel because we genuinely care. And yes, it upsets people. It upsets people when I say I don't think you should be eating keto breads that come from the store, because I think they're just products made by companies trying to make a profit, and they don't really care about your health. We care about your health. Now, what you eat is up to you, but we're going to tell you what our investigation, what our experience is, and then you could do with that what you want. Vadim said, you guys totally rock. Not only are you genuine, caring, and knowledgeable, but you always stay civil in disagreements. Rare these days.
Thanks.
No, we don't want to upset anybody, but we're also not going to kowtow and say, hey, I think it's okay. I see Robin said, I'm making a blanket statement, but in a lot of cases, I think these alternatives are simply excuses for things we want.
Yeah.
I know they would be. I think you're completely right. I think I think eating 600 grams of carbohydrates that come from cane sugar is just an excuse to eat sugar.
Yeah. And I'm
not saying everybody's doing that, but one of the big proponents.
Sure.
One of the biggest proponents of this, who was all over YouTube saying that I was a carnivore and he was a keto and then carnivore and lost a bunch of weight and then went to doing this, is shouting from the rooftops that he is eating 600 to 800 grams of carbohydrates, and one of his primary sources of that is pure cane sugar and gummy bears.
And again, this is a grown person, and if that person wants to sit and visit with me and pull up and wants to have an elf dinner where you put spaghetti and then you pour maple syrup on top of it, I love this person and I want to just sit and visit. That is what is on your plate. Is it has nothing to do with who you are as a person. Do I care about your health? Yes. And if and when you want to change things up, I'm going to be celebrating that for you as well, because I care about people.
And also, just this is going to sound bad, but ask yourself, do you look like Mark Smelly Bell? Because I don't. Okay? It's like Danny Vega would always talk about eating some, different
Carb
carbs,
fueling or carb cycling.
Right. And my question was always, do you look like Danny Vega? Do you look like Robert Sykes? Because if you don't, then maybe the way they're eating, if you don't know, Mark Smelly Bell is pretty well built. Okay, he's pretty muscular.
Don't ask me if you think he looks
is
better
going
than me,
to
I'm
burn
not falling through the rock thing again.
He's going to burn through that sugar a lot better than somebody who is 20, 30, 40, 100 pounds overweight and still having metabolic issues. Just saying. Let's see. I saw something. Shell wants to know, what is PSMF? It's PSMF, protein sparing modified fast. It's where 2 or 3 days a week you're eating high protein, very low fat, very low carbs.
Yeah.
Like less than 10 carbs in the day, total carbs, by the way, less than 30 grams of fat. And the idea is to preserve your muscle on a fasting day. Before we get off, Bubble said, this is why with Manjaro you're learning about nutrition all the time. Eating something wrong and you could have diarrhea 1 week, and too low carb, you're running for a stool softener. Yeah, there's a lot of different. And I will say, by the way, somebody did comment on the video. I don't remember who it was, and I'm just going to give a blanket answer here so that person doesn't get called out by me answering. Somebody said they were thinking about doing something like that, the hyper keto, mixing it with GLP-1. That would be a horrible idea. That would be a horrible idea, because you're not getting nearly enough protein in itself with hyperketosis, and then you're going to mix it with a peptide that is very well known for having you lose muscle. Like that would be a disaster waiting to happen. And every GLP-1 company, every Dr. Boz, every will tell you,
do keto
when
with
you
it.
go through the questionnaire on getting the compounded GLP-1s online, there's always a question in there of, are you going to be okay with losing muscle? That is always a question, and that you need to eat a higher protein so that you can help preserve that muscle, and you need to lift weights.
Right.
Okay? So mixing a low protein diet, to me, anything under 100 to 150 grams is low protein, with a GLP-1 that is going to have you lose muscle would be a disaster waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Again, we're not doctors, nurses, health professionals, but just it makes logical sense, right? Not enough protein, taking something that deteriorates muscle.
Yeah.
Jennifer said, I found success by just lowering fat to around 60% of calories from fat for a couple of days. Didn't have to go as low as PF. That's perfect.
Perfect.
People ask how much fat. Find that threshold. So if you're in an area and you're eating, say, 70% of your calories from fat, and you're maintaining, drop it to 68. Just a little bit less. You don't drastically drop it. You find that little bit less, that 10 grams less. If you're maintaining at 100 grams of fat, drop it to 90.
And I'm going to just encourage you, because I've had to do this for myself, and that's why I'm sharing. I mean, we share experience, right? So I'm going to share this experience with you. As you are using all of these different tools and you are trying to figure out like how much like I should eat and when I should exercise and how do I sleep and all this kind of stuff, do the hard work to begin loving yourself. Begin liking yourself right now. Do not decide that you've got a goal in mind of size or weight and decide, well, when I get to that, I am going to begin to be proud of myself. I'm going to begin to love myself, because you're not. If you hate yourself fat, you are going to hate yourself thin. Ask me how I know. Because it was like losing weight and then having to go back and learn how to love myself. Learn how to talk sweetly to myself. Learn to stop kicking myself when other people are saying like, wow, you know, you've come so far, I'm really proud of you. And me inside of me going like, but I'm not yet. I don't deserve to be proud of me yet. That is a whole separate process. And I'm going to encourage you that like, as you are focusing on like, how do I make my meals? Like begin saying right now, before I see the real love for myself, I'm gonna begin saying things in the mirror like, Rachel, I love you. Rachel, you are worth an investment in good nutrition. Rachel, you are worthy right now. I am so thankful for these thighs that may not look the way that I want them to look exactly, but you know what? I am thankful that they get me around.
Yep.
And they do things.
Chris said, how do you know?
I know.
Last question. Okay, so I saw it. So Amy wanted to know, what is hyperketosis, just low protein. So we did a video on it yesterday, Amy. Basically, rundown. I'm going to tell everybody, if you haven't watched it, go watch it because you're hearing about it more and more. But basically, it is a really ridiculous calorie restriction diet. You're eating less than 700 calories a day. It is a small amount of protein. It's 8 ounces of protein total in the day, divided across 2 meals. It's going to work out to be somewhere between 40 to 60 or 70, depending on which protein sources. But it's also low fat and including a bunch of sugar and vegetables. But it basically works out to be less than 700 calories. No matter how I worked it, I could never get over 700 calories, no matter what I did. And so it's a severe calorie restriction diet, and it's not a good idea.
As you get better too, Joe, like I have to think about also, and we never really ask ourselves this because we didn't even think about like keto for health. Like you've shared, your first thought was losing weight.
Yeah.
But you think to yourself, what am I going to do with that weight loss?
Yeah.
When I win it, what am I going to do with it? Okay, well, picture in your mind, when I get this weight loss, is the picture that you have in your mind only wearing a bikini? Is the picture in your mind only like taking your shirt off as a guy like at the beach? Or are you thinking about like hiking? Are you thinking about getting into a canoe and paddling? Are you thinking about, being able to, jump out of an airplane and have like that adventure, that experience? Start living now. Maybe you can't do all the things. I remember it was a long time before I was able to be the weight I needed to be to like ride a horse.
Right.
But there were other things that we could do outside that I wasn't doing at the beginning of keto. So I would say start living now also before you see the results that you want on the scale.
Juliana said, I don't think GLP-1s deteriorate muscle, as it just makes you not hungry and therefore you eat less, including protein, so you lose muscle. If you eat your meat on a GLP-1, you don't lose. So yeah, deteriorate was was not a good word, but generally you will lose muscle. Number one, it doesn't, see, here's the thing is GLP-1s, especially when you're doing it like with micro doses, like starting very small, it's not always about just not making you not hungry. It's working on your hormones, but it needs to be done responsibly with a medical provider looking over you. There are some companies out there that will give you the GLP-1 and never even check on you. I think that's a bad idea. They'll even let you kind of raise your dose. They just don't question it. They're just trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
And then there's other ones that will check on you on a regular basis. They won't give you more than 30 days supply unless you're checking in and doing labs with them. Those are the better ones, or preferably working with your own doctor. So, but they all say you have to eat meat. I think that GLP-1s with anything other than a proper human diet, a keto carnivore diet, is a bad idea. Just my opinion. Otherwise, what ends up happening, we stick to our old habits and then inject ourselves with a shot. And that's not fixing things. I think that you do need to, but I think, deteriorating is a bad word, but generally people lose muscle because most people are not going to eat the meat and the protein that they need, and they're not going to lift weights. You can't just eat the meat. You have to actively work on preserving that muscle.
Right, and think about that. Like, we talked about that yesterday in the video, that like there's fatigue that's going to happen when you're not properly nourished.
Yeah.
So if you're fatigued, do you feel like getting up to do that strength training workout that your muscles require? I think you're going to be much less motivated to do that if you're already tired.
Okay, so evidently we're going to get off, but I think it's Diane's birthday.
Yay!
Yes.
You ready?
Yep.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Diane. Happy birthday to you and many more. So many more.
I did see this, and then we'll get off, from Vadim saying, so would you do water fasting be better than something like hyperketosis here and there? Yes, I think doing like I don't see, if the more research you look at, 48 hours to maybe 72 hours is a good number. Beyond that, can you have more benefits doing more than 48? I think 48 hours is the best place, 36 to 48 hours. Can you have some benefits doing longer fasts, like 72 hours, 5 days? Yes, but there's a law of diminishing return. And if you're looking for autophagy, things like that, a lot of the research shows that that 36 to 48 hours is that good sweet spot. Again, you can get benefits going longer, but there's a law of diminishing returns. And then also, the longer you go, the more at risk you are of losing muscle. Okay? Your body does, when you're water fasting, your body does still need fuel.
Yeah.
And it is going to break down muscle. It's going to break down fat, but it's also going to break down muscle. And so, the longer you do it, that's more of a risk. So I think getting in that 36 to 48 hours is perfect. But do I think that's better than 40 days of hyperketosis? Yes. Your body
understands it.
Your body can handle better nothing than giving it only a little.
Like a tease.
Okay, we're going to get off. We will be back on Monday. We have a video coming out tomorrow. We have a recipe video coming out tomorrow. We'll be back on Monday with Keto Beyond the Couch. I'm not sure if it's going to be live or pre-recorded yet. I want to see the schedule because really the rally doesn't start until Wednesday. So my plan is to do Keto Beyond the Couch live from Elkhart. If we find out they need us to do something as brand ambassadors for Lyons, then we'll pre-record it and we'll let you guys know. But plan on Keto Beyond the Couch being live on Monday at